Peace. Bless up to
Peace.
everybody. Right here, my name, Jew Salim for Afroflux at the B-side. As usual, I love to interact with different kind of artists and different kind of people. And we were just talking about the hip hop generation and how it manifests in so many different styles, sides, and angles, and where it gets to. And like a lot of people, these guys were influenced by comics like myself, and that's kind of part of where we've met, where we've linked up, and what we're here to talk about today. So we've got on that side we've got Robert Woods, we've got Theodore Richards, both of
Peace.
Plus Comix, and I'm going to let you guys just give a quick introduction to yourselves. First off, Rob.
Hey, peace, y'all. Thanks for Juice, Afroflux. Thanks for letting me be a part of this program. But I'm Rob Woods, and I'm part of Plus Comix and editor of Plus Comix.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Peace.
Peace.
Blessed love, everybody. I am Theodore Richards. I am one of the contributors to one of the artists that's featured in the Comic anthology. I am a sequential art griot / comic book journalist, hip hop head, former hip hop enthusiast, artist to some degree. And yes, big up Afroflux and everyone that's involved. Big up the one called Juiceline, big up the one called Rob Woods. Thank you all for having us.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And thank you for those little intros as well. Like I said, the hip hop generation, and you said you were a hip hop artist.
Yeah.
Theodore,
yeah.
What makes you say were?
Should I say, okay, as far as, maybe I shouldn't say was, because hip hop still plays some part in what I do. A lot of my fundamentals and stuff like that. I want to say where it was. I mean, I used to record. I used to rhyme. There was a point where I thought I was a rapper, and then I woke up. Someone punched me in the oh yeah, you're not a rapper. Nah, but yeah, I was really into hip hop. Still am to some degree, but more or less the older stuff. Not that the younger generation. Not that I'm putting down the younger generation. I guess that's for them. They're the culture now. They're making the culture. I was told that recently by from Onyx the Birthstone kid from KMB.
Oh wow.
So like so so I'm not a participant as far as creating rap music, but I'm still a fan. I still know I know what I like. You know what I mean?
And
so yeah.
And in that regard, what is a hip hop journalist then?
Well, I'm not a hip hop journalist. I'm a comic journalist. So that's like your Joe Sacco, like the book. He did Palestine. He went to Palestine back in the 90s, took photos. He's actually a reporter, but he also was good at he could also illustrate and make comics. So he brought that to the table, like stuff like that. Which is straight up kind of documentary style. Like imagine a documentary done in a comic book form, kind of thing. I do slice of life, not nonfiction, not graphic nonfiction. I actually do like autobio work. So a lot of the work that I do is basically it's about Liaiful. Is it's just like a little study, kind of like a little study on the human condition, all that madness. Everything comes up in there. It comes up even if I don't have it planned. There's something that comes up and it's like, oh shit, yeah, we could go down that lane, But yeah.
And then Rob, how do you take it as far as we just got there into hip hop already? How do you see it as a person creating comics? Are you still a part of hip hop? Are you still a creator?
I actually, to be honest, I actually relate to what Theodore said as far as used to be a hip hop artist. I actually relate to that. That's how I feel, to be honest. I do feel that way. I feel like and I've had these discussions with Theodore about this, whereas though, well, I'll speak for myself, but these are discussions we have had that we feel similar. But just speaking for myself, I was very active in the hip hop culture. You know, I started doing comics. I mean, I've always wanted to do comics. I've always drawn and did art. But as far as taking comics seriously and like really trying to do it, that probably started somewhere around 2010, 2013 or something like that. Then the reason is because most of that time before that, I was trying to get on, man. I was a rapper. You know what I'm saying? I could draw, but I was trying to be a rapper. You know, that's when I really was into hip hop and stuff like that. And not to say that I'm not, I mean, I don't like a lot of this stuff out now, you know, personally. And I'm talking about commercially. I know it's a lot of underground stuff out.
Yeah, yeah.
But as far as me, like, but I was, you know, I was really seriously trying to be a rapper. I was, you know, in different groups and recording and just always writing rhymes and stuff like that. And eventually within that world, I got a bit disillusioned. And comics kind of took me out of that world, you know. And so I feel what he's saying about used to be. I know he's not really, I mean, he still can rap because sometimes we talk and we freestyle and stuff. I don't heard the music and stuff. So he still rap, I still rap. Like we all, you know, hip hop, you can't really say hip hop is gone, not, you know, but I know what he means.
Yeah.
I know what he means. Like, so yeah, I actually feel similar, you know,
That's mad interesting. Because on the advent of your new release, which is what we're here to speak about, with Plus Comix, part of the reason I'm even talking to you guys at this moment in time is because the way I see it, and I'm going to enforce myself here on it instead of just asking you questions, I'm going to enforce myself for a second, is I see this as hip hop. And that's what intrigues me. That's what interests me. Your viewpoints, how you write, how you draw, what's inspired you. The fact that Onyx, the birthstone kid from the legendary group KMD, causing much damage, has told you that and had that conversation with you, says a lot to you, who you are, your pedigree, your influences, and your viewpoint on things. And I personally, I can't tell anyone how to be, but I think I'm not going to say I haven't had the same thoughts, but I think it's a shame that just because there's a couple of gray hairs in my head or there's a belly or something that there's a stomach forming, you know, that I now feel less hip hop when the whole thing was always based on more than rap in the first place, even though rap's obviously a very focal point, but there's art, there's dance, there's music, there's production, there's beatboxing, there's fashion, there's you know, intelligence and knowledge, and there's so many other facets to hip hop. And I think part of the thing that killed hip hop in certain aspects is, on one level, maintaining these four elements, trying to maintain these four elements, old school, rare. And we know that graffiti existed previously. We know that people were b-boying before b-boying was called out. We know there was other elements to the formation, because hip hop's just a house that they came together to form together under, you know? And comics have been a part of that to me anyway, for a long time. And then you guys have had that influence as well and that inspiration. How do you see that? Does that change how you feel, or do you debate that, or can you see
from that point of view, what you said? Yeah, I can agree with that. You're right. Hip hop is more than just rap. You know what I mean? So you're right about that. And in that sense, these comics, this comic in particular, and even other comics I've made, and especially comics that Theodore makes, is very much hip hop, for sure. Yeah. In that sense, yeah. I guess I just meant rap, even though I still do rap. But I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking of the industry, maybe. So you make a lot of sense what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's mixed a
I agree
lot
with
of
that.
us up, the industry and talking about industry and who's top 5 and all these buzz phrases that have become standard, you know, top 5 dead or alive, you know, all these things that you have to think, or who's in your top 10, or who's in your, or who's relevant,
who's better, Biggie or Tupac?
Who's Tupac or Biggie? Like, what do you mean? Divine Styler, of course. But
we mean
Divine Styler is the
Posse
answer, you know.
Right.
Jungle Brothers is the answer. Freestyle Fellowship is the answer. MC Mello is the answer. You know, Barmadia. Where's Barmadia come in?
Where's she? I mean, I know her son does fashion design. I don't know anything about her recent
I'm
shit.
just saying, I don't need to get specific. I just mean, if she's not in your, if you got a top 10 and Cool G rapping in it.
Yeah, I got a problem with that. I got a problem. That just don't even make sense to me. Yo, now about to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, you know what I mean? But I was just looking at this joint where they're trying to figure out the top rappers. And I'm seeing, now I don't mean, I'm not trying to get controversial or nothing, but I'm seeing certain names like, this is just me. I'm not putting this on anybody. It's just me. But I'm seeing names like Eminem and Tupac. No, I don't want to start though, but I see that in the same list as a G-Rap and an MF Doom, and that don't make sense to me. I don't understand that personally.
Shit, sometimes you don't hear about G-Rap and MF Doom.
One can rap really well, and the other one is a legend. I get that, but in my world where I come from, that don't even make sense. They shouldn't even be on the same list. You know what I'm saying? Now there's no Cool G-Rap. You talking about Cool G-Rap? Like, to me, he's one of the greatest. But I ain't even gonna get into that because I'm about to get like hype. I'm gonna chill out.
Get hype, man. Get hype. Come on, was that the Rolling Stone? Was that the Rolling Stone one?
Forget them, man. That Rolling Stone. What do they know? You know, we never cared about that type of stuff before.
Right. Yeah. So why? Who gives about a goddamn Grammy?
Yeah.
That's what it used to be. I thought. You know, and it's just like now, like. Rolling Stone, like, what do they know? Ain't that a rock and roll magazine or something? Like, rock magazine? Who cares? Don't care what they think. They had Cardi B on there.
See, I'm not, you know what? I'm not mad at Cardi, right? I'm not mad at Cardi.
Okay, I don't know nothing about her.
I like some of her, I like a whole persona. And that's the thing, personas have become bigger than the skills.
Yeah.
And that's the difference of mainstream.
But that's the thing. We had a balance back in the day, man. Like me and Rob talk about this all the time. Like Rakim. Okay, so say 80% was the fact that he was skillful and he was cutting edge and he was, you know, cerebral. And then a good majority of that shit outside of having those skills is cool as a part of his skill. His whole demeanor. That whole, like, I can't go say much, that whole quiet, sharp man kind of vibe.
He had a mystique.
You know? He had a mystique
about
him,
man. Come on, that's God MC, man.
You know, and before we go any further too, I like to say rest in peace to MF Doom. You know, Doomsday is coming up. It's going to be the 13th of July, Doomsday, the real Doomsday. You know, I think we should celebrate that brother every Halloween. Look at how the irony, I mean, it's sad, but check it out. He passes on the day that people wear a masquerade. You know, that shit's that you can't, you know, that's serendipity, you know, and it's not.
That's something. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if serendipity is the correct word, but it's something, it's something to be said. You know what I mean? And that brother contributed a lot. He didn't get his full just dues. And you know, I really hope his family's doing well. I had the opportunity to meet him a couple times. I am gonna say I was his Cody or anything like that, but he seemed like a pleasant person. And I've had the opportunity to be around people that's worked with him. In different capacities. My boy John, he was on the King Ghidorah album. He also did a few tracks of him. He did the Leak Edition album with Duke. So I just want to say big up to Doom also, because he's also where hip hop and comics cross pollinate. You know what I mean? Have cross pollinated. And big up to all the artists where hip hop and comics were able to cross pollinate. And you know, like I said, I pulled back from hip hop as far as creating it, as far as being creative. Every now and then I might do a freestyle, test my chops, see if my skills are still there. It's like riding a bike, or it's a skate, or pick up a sport every now and then. You know, Jason Lee probably does it, despite he does My Name is Earl. See Jason Lee go back to skating. And I'm not a skater, but I kind of know I have some kind of insight on that culture. So in saying that, I say hip hop with me and Rob, as far as comic books, it's more of a character. It's more of a character. It's like how people will talk about, you know, their environments and their comic books, and the backs become characters themselves. And hip hop is more of a character. It's a backdrop. Times it's a character and soft focus. You know, for the most part, character and soft focus, but he's relevant. You know, it's there. It's all relative. It's relative. Sorry. And go back to let Rob speak. Sorry, pardon me.
You all right, man? Just say what you're saying.
Yeah, man.
You good?
Definitely rest in peace to Doom for sure. You know,
Indeed.
hip hop great, man, for sure.
And as you say, one of the heads of that kind of amalgamation of different genres and schools of thought coming together, comics, animation, you know, all the samples from the old Fantastic Four and all that coming together in this perfect union, basically, there was just levels of knowing within each song, each sample, each verse, each bar had that kind of, you had to be there to kind of know it, to get the full gist of it. And the more that you understood it, the more it gives to you, you know, the more relevance and depth it has. And then some of it's also throwaway as well, which is beautiful, because you don't know which threads have been given to you as almost like in a Persian rug kind of way, like, you know, when they put imperfections in on purpose. Like Ghostface does that as well, you know. It's like you run with the thread, but no, it's that thread, you know. But I love the amalgam of these things that I've been into, and I'm as much as I've become more open and whatever, I don't know, ecumenical as times come on with hip hop and what it is, but there's still a part of me that when I see someone doing let's say they're doing a big budget movie right now, and someone wants to play a certain character, I'm like, I don't care about acting chops or whatever necessarily. Give it to RZA, give it to Method Man, give it to Doom, give it to people that have shown influence already. They've shown an awareness. They're into it already.
Yeah.
That person there is an actor. Okay, cool. They're good, but they're not from it. I see myself as from the culture when it was not easy to be from the culture. Nowadays, you know, everyone's a Marvel fan. Everyone walks around with a T-shirt and whatever. It's cool, which is fine.
Oh yeah, everyone just can Google it, and all of a sudden they're like,
people talk to you and they Google you as they're talking. So now you and them are at the same level of knowledge, even though you've been into that thing for 15 years, 20 years, 25 years.
Right.
And that's weird to me. It's still weirdo behavior to me. I'm not saying you should stay ignorant. I'm saying don't assume you're at the same level as a samurai master, you know, as a master swordsman or something, when you've just picked up a little blade, you know, like, you're not.
All they gotta do is just upload it to TikTok, you know, and that's it. You know, I'm gonna put TikTok and, you know, have a couple of snippets, a montage, and no, I shouldn't say that. Actually, big up to them TikTokers out there. Love.
I feel you. That's like that's like knowledge over wisdom, man. Because wisdom is something experience. Wisdom is something based on experience, you know. You live through something, you've seen something and lived through it, and then somebody, like you said, somebody look on Google or something, find out something in 2 seconds.
Some cheat modes.
Like that should never in no time period be over, true wisdom and understanding, But yeah,
We
I
had
just,
to
everybody
marinate
thinks
it.
they're on equal level just from just knowing a few things,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's a bizarre time we live in,
Most
It's a microwave thing. We marinate it. A lot of stuff is a microwave now, you know what I mean? And just instant, just add water. It's just add water times. And me and Rob have loads of discussions, man. Like Rob is just like, as far as like a really forward thinker, like the dude's got like a really dope sense of humor. So like sometimes Rob have these conversations and we talk about just in general where we see the culture going. What's our place in the world, or our place in this world now, this ever changing landscape, whether it be artistically or politically, socially. And right now it's like every 2 minutes is a new. There's like they're inventing laws, they're breaking laws and inventing new laws, and I mean, as far as the principles of engagement and how we socialize, our fundamentals are just totally broken down and reconstructed today because of the social media thing. You got brothers starting cults online. You got brothers like the Nature Boys, the cults, like some fake.
I saw Jared Leto.
Huh?
I saw Jared Leto's thing, man. Like I knew Mobius was gonna be whack, but damn.
Yeah.
So does that mean you wouldn't be into the 6ix9ine comic?
If there's a 6ix9ine comic?
Takeshi 6ix9ine.
I mean, if it's honest, man, I'm not gonna. The thing is, I'm trying to separate the person from their work. I mean, you have to be a really horrible person for me to not really buy into what you're doing. You have to be really horrible, or you have to be saying shit I really don't care about.
Well, people.
If his story's honest, if it's an honest story, I mean, people talk about his code in the streets all the time. People break that code all the time. It's wherever the money is, it's whoever's gonna cut your throat first, really. So I'm not a part of that whole thing. So I could look at it from the outside and be like, okay, yeah, Dr. 6ix9ine was honest about this and honest about that. If he's done doing it on the story, him being like a TikTok or whatever he was in the beginning before Candy was a blood, and his story's honest and it this whole thing. If he's about, even if I don't know what he is, if he's a plant, I have an idea, industry plant to some degree. I have a concept out there that he just did what anybody would have done, and if a bunch of people set you up and you saw yourself doing major time, a person that doesn't have the fundamental principles of the streets are just gonna be like, yo, I'm sorry, I'm squealing. He reacted how people like that react. I mean, I separate a person from their artwork. Or like I said, unless you do something, you have to do something, a crime of moral turpitude and certain moral turpitude for me to be like, nah, I'm not thinking about it. I think everybody's story is kind of, it's kind of relevant to some degree, depending on who they are, what they're representing. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna go out there and support a person with crazy sexual offenses or that. That's it. But yeah, a kid's story could be relevant. I personally wouldn't fully go into it, but I've heard some interviews that were interesting enough, like from another point of view, other than he's not street, he told the police. Shit, so many people, there's so many people that's been put in that situation that,
Yeah, like it happens regular, people get put under pressure by certain charges and a life that's behind them, whether it's a life that was given to them or a life that they
yeah.
But you mentioned the fundaments of culture. So I'm going to ask 2 questions to both of you. One is, what are those fundaments? What are those fundamentals? And the other thing is, when people say they're doing it for the culture, what culture is that, do you think they mean?
Ooh. Rob, you want to take over?
Were you talking about the fundamentals of what? Of just fundamentals of culture, of hip hop culture?
Of hip hop, of the street, of what would you say those fundamentals are? Because as Theodore just said, we're constantly, they're constantly mentioned, but we can also continually see people breaking them, reshaping them, breaking them for their own agenda, for their own needs.
I can't speak to that really. I don't know. I don't know what, I mean, we're supposed to be doing or whatever. I tell you now, just me personally, you know, as far as just living and existing, you know, lately, you know, I mean, as far as just moral, just what to live by, you know, me personally, I read the Bible a lot, you know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of morals to live by in there. And different other things I've read as far as the Quran and different stuff like that. But on just a human level, you know, as far as, you know, but I don't know, you know, I don't know, you know, I don't live by no nothing, you know what I'm saying? As far as like doing it for the culture, I hear people say that. I don't know what they mean. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, I really don't. I mean, I'm talking about the stuff that I watch.
Yeah,
I watch, like looking at YouTube and stuff like that.
Culture, to second what you're saying,
they talking about,
to second what you're saying, for the culture is very subjective now. Sorry, just want to put that in.
Yeah, when they say, dude, I'm gonna tell you why I don't know what they mean. I know what that's supposed to mean. I get what that's supposed to mean. I understand. Like as far as like where we come from, and as far as like this urban culture, you know, the history of, like, to me, hip hop, jazz, that type of a thing, as far as this black type thing that we have, you know what I'm saying? I understand that, you know, and I understand we run the culture and kind of say, and because we the first people, and because we, you know, we're a certain type of people in this, whether you want to look at it from a 5% point of view or a Hebrew Israelite point of view or whatever, we represent a certain, you know what I mean, aspect of the globe as far as saying like where things should go and what it is. So like, so on that level, I get it, you know, I get it, like, you know, the culture, whatever. But when you have like a little Nas X come out of nowhere, and then a person is looking at that and being like, you know, what has happened to rap? Or what is, you know, what is it doing for the culture? Like that's like where it's going somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? That's not even our culture. I don't know what that is. That's some industry thing that somebody's just throwing in front of you.
Yeah.
So like, I don't really, to be honest, I don't really know how to answer that question because I'm somewhat of a rogue. And if I am within this culture, I'm always doing things wrong anyway. Yeah. So I don't really know how to really, you know what I'm saying? I'm just, you know, a strange dude on my own. I don't really know how to answer that type of question, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's the best thing I could say. I just try to draw. And
well, would I get from your comics, you know, from Depressed Punks, would I get a set of morals from it? Would I get an understanding of who you are in regards to your culture from those kind of comics?
Well, let me tell you this. When it comes to Depressed Punks, right? When it comes to doing these types of comics, you see, that is, yeah, I tried, and see, this is where it is hip hop. This is where it is the culture and all that. Because it was my intention working on these comics to represent a certain section, a certain cultural aspect of certain people, specifically from a Philadelphia fringe type point situation in Philadelphia that I'll come from and represent, that I don't feel like is represented. And that's what hip hop is a lot of times is about. You know, I grew up with two of my brothers. One of my brothers, kind of a notorious graffiti artist in Philadelphia, and part of some notorious graffiti crews from some real times of graffiti, the 80s and early 90s, you know what I mean? Which is some real hardcore times, you know, in Philly. And it's a lot of legends from Philly, graffiti artists, you know, Raz, the group Law One, a lot of different legendary graffiti artists, and he's part of that. Yeah. And then I have another brother that's a street artist not necessarily in the same vein of that type of hip hop graffiti, but he's a street artist.
Yeah.
And I come from that. And I grew up around like certain rappers and stuff like that I grew up under. I didn't necessarily hit to do graffiti thing like that, but I tried to represent it within the comics. Because when you're doing that, you're representing the people. It's a very serious, see, and this is what separates this type of comic from another kind of comic. Because at first it's just like, well, this is just comics. But then it gets on when you get to this type of level of culture, it gets on some real like, this is our life, this is life or death type thing. This is serious. And so that's what my comics represent, that type of an element where I'm speaking to certain people who know. Yeah. And those who know. And those who don't would just take this as just some silly little comic. But I'm speaking very directly about a certain fringe element. I'm talking about certain homelessness that exists, certain just types of things that certain types of people just go through in a struggle sense. And I try to represent it to the fullest in that comic. But it's masked in an artsy world by, certain types of jokes and stuff like that. And it's silly. So those who don't really know are just going to just be entertained. But those who do know is going to see something a little deeper in there. And now that's my comics. That was my intentions. Depressed punks. Now when it comes to A plus comics, now I can't have an intention for everybody because this is an anthology, it's different people. But one thing I can say with the artists that's in there, Theodore Richards, JT Wilkins, Ebony R. And Ebony R is one of my brothers who I said was a street artist. They are the same thing like me. They are on some hip hop stuff. You know what I'm saying? So they do the same thing. And I know Theodore does it in his comics. He represents certain, I don't know how to explain it. You know what I'm saying? But however you can think of a graffiti artist, how when they tag in their name, it represents a whole lifestyle, it represents a whole, they letting the world know, yo, we exist, we here. That thing, whatever that is, that's what I'm doing. And I believe that's what they're doing in their comics as well. So with the depressed punks and stuff, yeah, very, very much so. This is a very serious thing to me.
True indeed.
Very serious to the point where, and I don't mean to go on and on, but very serious to the point where I got into a beef kind of with the artist Ed Piskor over him, where I thought not no real beef, you know what I mean? We wasn't, just some little Twitter, back and forth. Because I felt like he was being disrespectful, you know what I'm saying? When he was doing the Hip Hop Family Tree, which is a comic I really like. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Some of the representations are a bit wild in there though.
Now see, this is where we go into something else.
He don't like Russell Simmons.
Let me tell you something. I like Hip Hop Family Tree, right?
Yeah.
Personally, as a cartoonist, I was really happy to see that he made this book, right? And I was just like, oh, this is dope. I didn't know who he was. And I didn't like a lot of his other books before, so they were very boring. But I seen his comic, and I'm just saying this to respond to what you just said. And I was like, oh, somebody's telling these stories. I'm just like to see the story of KRS-One. And I'm glad that it was done. And I'm glad he did it. Yeah. But when I tried to show certain people, now that's just me as a comic artist, just, oh, this is dope. I wouldn't have thought to do this. Somebody did it. This is dope. It's dope that it was done. And he's telling our stories and stuff like that, or telling artist stories. But, I tried to show certain my peoples that they ain't into comics or nothing. They don't care. I went to the, just one story. I went to the comic store with my friend, with my homie, and he's trying to look for like black comics or whatever. And then he's seen the Hip Hop Family Tree. He was like, yo, what's this? I showed him the Hip Hop Family Tree. I was like, yo, check this out. And he was like, oh, this is dope. This is what I'm talking about. And then he asked me, he wasn't really, really looking at it. But then he was like, this is a brother, this is a black dude. I was like, oh, no, he's not black. But he's like, no, I don't want this. that may sound whatever. He didn't want nothing to do with it after that. He's like, oh, yo, forget this. Now, I'm not saying that's how everybody think. But I'm saying that type stuff means something. You know what I'm saying? It really means something. And besides him, there's a lot of other people who look at it and see that certain things wasn't represented right in there. Because there's certain things that's taken very serious.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about, that seriousness of looking at stuff. And that's that hip hop thing. That's what I'm talking about. But go ahead. But I ain't mean to keep going on. But go ahead what you're saying. But yeah, I feel you. Certain things wasn't represented right.
I liked it as well, but I couldn't push myself to buy it as well. To be fair, because of the price of each issue. I couldn't push myself to buy it. It was like £20 or something like that, £25.
Okay.
About 25 pounds. I got a couple. These are 25 or 20 or 29 pounds.
Yeah,
now, what's that? What's 25 pounds in?
Like,
Is it still roughly the same amount as $25?
That was almost like.
Okay. Yeah. So I liked it, but then there were certain things in there. I'm like, why did you draw that person like that? Did you ask anybody? Like,
I don't like how he does graffiti. I really don't like how he does graffiti because he does mention the fire. He does mention do certain things, and he has. I don't like how he does graffiti. But I mean,
he mentions Ram in there, doesn't he?
Pardon me?
He mentions Ram in there, doesn't he? In a few.
Ram LZ?
Yeah, he mentions Ram Z, talks about the beef between him and also look, big up to Juice Salim. This is so amazing. We have Juice Salim here interviewing freaking Plus Comix, my boy Rob Woods, and Juice Salim has also worked with the great Ram Z with the Equation. So salute, and to those people that don't know, and people that don't know that they're saying, "Oh, Afro punk, blah blah blah." You might have to only know about a Basquiat, whatever. We know that Ram was kind of. I wouldn't say instrumental,
but he was man. You talking about music?
Yeah. We did some. He considered himself a part of the group, man. Part of New Flesh. He's on 2 tracks on one of our albums, and we did a few shows with him and hooked up with him in France and UK. We did a gig at Scala back in the day. Hooked up with him in New York, and part 2, amazing graffiti artist originally from Yorkshire, who's kind of the de facto leader of New Flesh. He went to the battle, to the battle station, and we used to talk on the phone, and he'd phone things in. And we've got loads of footage still, audio footage of him just going on about, because like I say, he considered himself new flesh, so he'd be doing these sort of how he spoke about the universe and letters, and we're racing with the new flesh. New flesh.
We send your letters.
Fully armored, new flesh. And he'd be talking like that. And
man, I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Remember,
there's a
give.
But it's interesting, like as you say though, the reality of culture and the importance, and like we know anyone can have, as you guys say, cornrow, as we say, cane row. Anyone can have these hairstyles, but if you don't have the depth of the history of why the hair's like that and the shapes and the different, and in Africa it means a whole different thing, and it can be cultural to your ethnic background and all this. If you just put it in your hair, you're allowed to do that. But if you don't understand the depths of it, when someone asks you, then there will be a bit of maybe a side-eye look at you. No one can tell you what hairstyle to have, but you should understand the depths of what this means. People, like you say, lived and died by their hairstyle. You could get killed by having the wrong hair goes that way instead of that way. You can get killed. You could have naps in your hair or seeds or certain rice grains that only got to the Americas, to the Western Hemisphere, because certain enslaved Africans had it in their cane row, in their corn row, wrapped up in there. And the fact it's called corn row because you worked around the corn, or it's called cane row because you worked in the cane field, is also indicative of the depth of the reality of the hairstyle, that it's more than just a hairstyle, it's part of your lifestyle. You know what I mean? So
see what you just said right there, that's really deep what you said. See, that's what I'm saying. The culture is like, see, that's where it comes to be a real thing. Because see, it's just like what Theodore said about Ed Piskor. I'm not trying to make this thing about Ed Piskor, but it's just like what he said about him not drawing the graffiti right. He can't draw graffiti right. Now, to depending on where you're from or who you are, that may not mean nothing to you. It's just like, well, just art. To me, and I know people who, where I grew up, and I can only speak for, I ain't been to many places. You know what I mean? I've been in I lived in like 3 different states my whole life. I haven't been to many places, but as far as in Philly growing up, you know, I grew up in the, born in the early 80s and grew up throughout the 80s, 90s. As far as that graffiti world, that's a very serious world. For some people, maybe it's just, you know, just tagging. But I know people, who, you know, there's stories of people who died for that and stuff like that. But like, it's like a real thing. It's really serious, you know, depending on what aspect you're coming from. They took it very serious.
Pardon me.
Certain people I knew, you know.
Yeah. People live and die for it. You know about cornbread.
Yeah, cornbread.
Yeah, because that's
he's,
a
cornbread. Notorious, man. He put his that's what I'm saying, like risky type shit. Like this man before he tagged the name corn, he used to tag.
He tagged the elephant. He tagged the elephant in the zoo, right?
You know what I mean? He tagged the elephant in the Philadelphia Zoo, man. You know what I mean? And I think he tagged his girlfriend's name on the elephant. You know, or not a girl, or maybe even a girl he was in love with. You know, I had so many stories of dudes who got beat up just for being, oh man, I don't even know how. It's guys that take this serious. That's why I like Beach Street, because Beach Street kind of shows that a little bit. I mean, the dude dies on the track just to get his name on the wall. That's serious.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, dudes will go all out for that, man. Because the reason why it's so serious, though, what people don't understand is because, you know, especially if you're living in the hood, like, you know, like, now people would think, you know, okay, hip hop started in the Bronx and stuff like that. You know, I got family from the Bronx, you know, and it's depending on what part of the Bronx you're in, especially in the South Bronx, it's hardcore out there, man. Especially in the 80s, it looked like a damn third world out there. And sometimes there's certain things that's all you got, man. And when you at the bottom of the barrel in this type of society, that type, you know, that spray can, that microphone, that basketball, them things mean everything to you.
Yeah.
And that really means something. What you're saying about the hairstyles and stuff like that. Like people just from the outside looking in, like, oh, that's cute, or that's this, or that's that. Okay. I mean, that's okay. They're allowed to indulge in it as well. But just know that it means something different to where it originated.
Yeah.
It means something a lot deeper. And that was my thing with Ed Piska, just to tell you, and I'm not to sound like I'm making this a thing about Ed Piska, but I'm just saying, he had came to me, right, and he wanted an art in his book. And I thought maybe, you know, I was kind of going through it at the time. I was a bit homeless, whatever at the time. And I was asked, could he pay? Could he pay? Yo, can I get, I wasn't going to ask for much. Got to get a little money to feature in your book. And he was just like, and I told him my situation. I shouldn't have told him my situation. I was like, yo, I'm homeless. I want to be in your book, but I need a couple dollars for this. And then he was like, no, I'll give you a free book though. And that's okay. He don't have to give me anything man to man. But what I didn't like, what I thought was disrespectful is you drawing these stories of my life and people I know, that's my experience. You drawing out, because one of the things that made me think I could tell him about my homeless situation is that he drew the story about KRS-One and he was in a shelter. And that's my life too. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I thought it was beautiful that he illustrated that. I'm like, yo, this is really dope. This is really, and KRS-One is one of my favorite MCs. So I was glad he told the story, but I thought I could maybe tell him that, hey, I'm kind of going through that now.
Yeah.
And I just feel like he should have, if he was really of that type of world that we from, he would have at least said, hey, I ain't got it. I can't pay you, but I'll at least acknowledge my struggle. He didn't acknowledge my struggle. That's what I had a problem with. He could at least say, I'm sorry you're going through that. But no, I'm not paying, but I'll give you that. And because he didn't say that, that made me think he don't have the right to say certain things he's saying in his book. Because in his book, he quotes Old Dirty or something, this dedicated to all my niggas or something, but he scratched out some of the words. You can't say stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because for you to use certain types of language, you either part of this culture, part of the originators of this culture, or you a sympathizer or something like that. You one or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're not really proven to be either. You're just proven to be a person that's just trying to capitalize off other people's lives.
And
I don't have respect for. And I don't mean to make this a whole thing about him, but I'm just saying, I don't even know what I'm saying, to be honest.
No,
Maybe
no,
I just wanted to tell the little story. I don't know.
All organisms.
I don't know what I'm saying. I didn't mean to go on that tangent. I mean,
Nah, it's
my bad.
because like, all organisms are trying to survive, but there's a difference whether you're just living or whether you're a sympathetic organism living in unison, or if you're a vampiric organism.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a difference, you know, a leech works in a different way to how say like fungi grow together, you know what I'm saying? So
That's a good point.
the fish work together, you know, and if you're trying to be a shark, then okay, cool. But understand there's gonna be a day where the shark dies and will get eat up by the fish. So
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, man.
And I just want to say real quick, I'm not trying to say that that's who he is. I'm just saying in that instance, that's how I was taken. But I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, he's a good artist and all that, so I'm not trying to bash him or anything. I'm just using him as an example, using that situation as an example.
It's taken to mind and not to heart, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we understand where you're coming from and also understand the passion, and that's the thing. So is that what we get a lot of with Plus Comix?
I think I'm just put my 2 cents in. Plus Comix is a lot of heart. Is from what Rob, the discussions me and Rob we have been having, and just like in general, like is the moments in between. I mean, it's comics, and it's also, because I don't say it's comics, but it's done, you know what I mean, this way. It's comics, but it's also very hand on heart, honest. There are like a lot of moments in there. We capture, like my thing, capturing quotidian moments, like quotidian stuff. Like I'm not sure if I'm using that word correctly, but that's how it's pronounced. But just everyday. The mix in between the things, like the things that drew me to hip hop was not a rapper that raps about rapping. That just went, yo, I'm in studio about to smoke a blunt, walking over to the mic now. My flows are da 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 da. No, I want to hear you rap out the moments in between rapping. Okay, I kind of want to see that captured as well, and that's kind of what we kind of capture between us, is the stuff that people left out, you know. I think Plus Comix is it's kind of like, you know, you listen to Breaking the Atom by Main Source. I say Large Professor because hey, but you listen to Breaking the Atom, and he's got Watch Roger Do His Thing, you know, which is a song which is like not about the kid being tough, and you know what I mean, and getting, you know, it's a story about a kid that, you know, he lives in the hood, he has to survive, he clearly doesn't want to be a jailbird or a corner bait for police, and he's having to kind of negate his life around all the dangers of growing up in an environment that's dangerous, and eventually he makes it. And what made that narrative interesting, because it wasn't like this character must have been based on him might have been based on himself or people he's seen go through that to some degree. And the moments he caught in between, it's not a tune about hip hop or how hard you are or the street. He's just talking about this kid that's had to survive, neighbors that were killers, gang members, drug dealers, everything, you know, race cops, everything. Because the people, what I captured, the stuff I captured for my imprint is, well, the book I'm working on is a book called The Toys Are Dead. And it's like, I find everyone's got their version of coming up black. I mean, it's very subjective. Being black is subjective. Everything, you know, being black, being a man, being a woman is subjective. It's your personal experience, whatever you've been through, you know, whatever's rewired you, whatever has driven you, these are all things that are relevant to each individual, everything, you know, so I won't rule out anything. But with in the case of Plus Comix, like when they give excerpts from the Toys of Dead is just about Lee Eiffel, who I'm no longer talking to now. We just like work online. I don't really fuck with that dude. Pardon me, pardon my French. I don't really. There's a beef, and yeah, we'll deal with that shortly. But yeah,
but you're still creating together with Lee Eiffel.
I'm still in communication with his people, with it related. So I'm still in communication with him. To some degree,
they both cool with Plus Comix, you know. So
yeah, he's cool with you. I mean, right now there's
I hope y'all can work that out, you know.
He's cool with you.
Yeah. How long did it took to put the late? So let's speak on the comic that's coming out this month. That's coming out right now. The Aplus anthology. How long did it take to put together? Yes, please show it. Bring it.
So yeah. This is Plus Comix, issue 1. This is the first issue. You know, it features Ebony R, an artist out of Philly, Theodore Richards here, J.T. Wilkins from DC, and myself, and also Dietrich Shackelford from out of Philly, but now he's in Ohio. And this is just different artists I know, different artists. You know, we know each other, and just putting our stuff together, man. Just in just for the love of you know, doing an anthology and putting our stuff out there. And yeah, it's just fun, man. Just for the love of comics, man. Nothing more than that. I mean, we make comics. We love making comics. And you know, as far as doing an anthology, in the world of Black comics, there's not many Black comic anthologies that I can think of that exist now. Like you have Iron Circus. I don't know if that's really considered a Black comic anthology, but that's run by a Black woman. You have it's another one I know I'm missing. I can't think. But you also have Lab Magazine, which is run by Ronald Wimberly.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of working with him at end of last year, actually. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, and building with him.
He's a dope artist, man. Really dope.
Dope guy, like great thinker, man. Great mind.
Yeah. He's a deep dude. He's definitely a thinking dude. But yeah, he has the thing. I don't know if you've seen the Lab Magazine, but he has that. Which Lab I think kind of started out as an all Black anthology. I'm not sure that that's still what it is now. I think he might be on his 4th or 5th issue. But it's an annual issue. But that's a really dope thing. Oh, and then you have the Afro Punk anthology, which is a specifically Black comic anthology.
Okay, I've not seen the actual.
Oh, the dude from Afro
Punk. It just came out. He just put it out. He did a call for artists to be in it. Afro Punk artists to be in it. So that is a specific Black anthology.
Right.
But with some of these, but with this, you know, I just wanted to have something because it's a lot of anthologies out there, and I hope more Black comic anthologies come out. But with some of the artists in here, it's a weird thing, man. Like, I don't know, like in the Black comics genre, because Black comics is definitely a genre, you know, very much like manga or anything else. It is kind of bombarded with a lot of kind of superhero type comics, you know, a lot of like painting Superman red, black, and green kind of stuff, you know, Aquaman, and no disrespect to it because I understand the need for that. And I'm not trying to, but it's a lot of that. Just kind of, no, I ain't trying to be disrespectful.
I know, but pardon me, it caught me funny, Lord. Like, yo, yeah.
But it is a lot of that, and also a lot of.
How many Black Gokus can you get?
Yeah, a lot of manga. That's what I was gonna say. It's a lot of manga, and a lot of Black versions. Sort of like how we had the Black Bart Simpson. It's that. Now, in itself, it's okay because I get that. It's because it's supposed. The whole point of it is that it's an alternative for what's commercial. So I get it. I get the point of it. But so Black comics is already a subgenre of the comic world. Like you have the comic world, alternative comics is a subgenre of comic world. Black comics is a subgenre of that. So I would say what we are is a subgenre of even that, because we represent a sort of fringe kind of element of Black comics. That there is really no anthology for.
We the Rogers.
For what it is we do, and that's why I made Plus Comix. Well, I mean, that's not why I came up with the name or anything, but that's what it's turned into.
Yes.
To be, to me, I look at this more like a sort of temporary shelter for that type of Black artists, you know. And it's not just Black artists, because in the next issue is almost done, and that actually has, you know, artists in there. It's not Black, so it's not Black, but most of the artists that I've been working with are Black artists or Black cartoonists, and I would say their stuff is very original, especially in the Black comics world. I mean, you take in this book, I mean, it's starting off. I mean, it's one of the strangest comics you ever see. Is Jack Stone, Coffee Detective. You know, this is like absurd humor. You know, and this is done by my brother Ebony R. One of the reasons why I do comics is him, and this is his debut comic in here. You know, he's a notorious underground artist. You know, in Philly, he don't even really do comics really. So this is very special that he's in here. And then you have you know, Theodore Richards, man. I mean, he's doing stuff like putting black soap in there. So I don't see that in in comics, period. You know, he's doing that. You know what I mean? And then you have J.T. Wilkins, man, whose stuff is really, his storytelling is just crazy. You know, his storytelling is really dope, man. But he really does a lot of original sci-fi stuff. You know what I mean? And and then Dietrich Shackelford, I illustrated this with Dietrich Truitt. He has a very kind of dark, kind of twisted sense of humor, really funny. And you know, and this is the type of stuff we have in here. And there is just no home. It doesn't exist, is what I'm trying to say. Like an anthology of something of this caliber. And I wanted to be the one to have it. You know.
It does exist. And you are making a home for it. And I want you to hold up the picture again, please, Rob. For those who know their comics, I love this, based on a very I'm not going to say the name.
Oh, you can. I don't, you know.
Okay.
Okay.
Based on a very famous comic. Was it the first Superman action comic?
Action comics, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that come out like 80 odd years ago, man. And in June.
Really? Mm. Oh yeah, right. What am I talking about? Yeah, that's why I kept it there. Yeah, right. You're right. Yeah, came out June.
Yeah. So 84
That's sorry, Rob. You're funny.
No, that's all right. You know, I get absent-minded, man. But it's cool. You can mention it because this is underground comics, man. It's like you know, I love underground comics, man.
So, like, you're subverting it in. I mean, I did the Black Simpsons characters when I was a kid.
Oh, for sure. Me too, man. Yeah.
I need to do a Black Simpsons comic. I mean, Aplus Comix, man. I'm putting it out there. This is the thing. I don't even mean to cut you, but Rob being humble as hell, and I think it's because he might not have some of his material there sitting in front of him right now, and he's just so used to Rob shit. But Rob's put out 36 Lessons in Self-Destruction, right? This is 2013. Dark humor, satire, very cleverly written. The dude has a super dope writing and visual storytelling style, unique to him.
Well, show me the back cover there. That looks awesome.
The back cover.
No, yeah.
It was out on Locust Press, which is, I don't think that imprint exists anymore. I'm not sure. Rob can probably elaborate on that. But like with the Press Punks and Plus Comix, what I would say is, you know, and to bring this all back to like the hip hop comics, but without hip hop thing. Okay, so leaning more towards the comic side. what Fantagraphics doing, you know, they similar to Fantagraphics. I mean, that's the name I'm calling because that's the only one that comes to mind now. But what Fantagraphics has done with their imprint is they represent, like, you know, part, I guess, the underground artists that the underground artists that kind of had a cult following, and, you know, some of the old classic stuff, they're able to reprint it, and, you know, they represent that. Like, you go to Fantagraphics and there's one-offs. There's Millie Ferris, you know. It's not like Marvel where they have a house of content creators, you know, where it's just like, oh, this is Bushima, era, this is this is this, you know what I mean? So it's reasonably random with Fanta, and what Rob's doing, what I see Rob doing with his imprint, and how I feel being a part of it is he's done this imprint for artists like myself that probably, if I approach the Fantagraphics or any of that, I'm not known enough, or there's not enough content, or there, you know, that there's not enough history behind, there's not a big enough story behind myself. Or Rob is open the gates to, you know, to the underrepresented, the invisible, you know what I mean? The people that go invisible, like in just in general. And that's all I wanted to add to it. Rob is, this is the first time that my birthday was in a Rob Wood's imprint, was in the SJVI. You know, the first story I contributed to SJVI was, Life from Mars, and it's like a little abstract avant-garde type comic, a little silent joint.
You know, I should mention that. I should actually mention that. That's where this started, was a series called SJVI, and yeah, that's what it was. A series called SJVI we started, and then it's kind of morphed into this.
Yeah, so SJVI.
I just want to mention that. Yeah.
This came out last year. Savage John, and SJVI stands for Savage John versus the Illuminati. There's, as you can see, there's a side A, there's a side B, there's a side C. And yeah, this is
I don't, you know, ain't sure though. Yeah, I don't, you know, we'll put those back out. You know.
Yeah.
Put those back out.
Yeah. So Rob has given us an opportunity. I mean, the imprint that Rob has, and I would do work with Rob as long as whatever Rob does, and he wants me to contribute, I will always put part of contribution, because Rob is the person that is giving me the opportunity to, you know, he's giving me the opportunity to put my work, get my work out there. He's done that with quite a few other artists, and it's really good. It's really beautiful what he's doing, because, like I said, these are the voices that aren't. We are the voices that weren't. Well, people like myself. Rob's established, a lot more established than I am. But people like myself, this is a good opportunity to get my work seen. You know, and yes, yeah, that's it. It's just.
I would say
for Rob. Sorry.
Respect to Rob for that, and for doing it and having that house there. And as an MC who's also now stepping into my own sort of little comic field.
Oh, you got joints? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, the one I showed you before. We finally got that out from a few years ago. So it's the first time my art's ever been in a actual comic, you know.
Oh, dope.
Beautiful.
And like I was saying, I wasn't even meant to be in there, so I ended up doing it really quick in a couple of days, putting it together for a project that we had done with Afroflux. But then we finally put out the anthology as well. Which,
okay, see, now I'm mentioning all these anthologies. I didn't even mention y'all joint.
Yeah,
I didn't know you had a joint.
No disrespect. And like, one thing about Afroflux, we always open it up so there's people of different backgrounds in here, but the main core is black artists, black creators. But then with there's people in here that are Greek, Indian, Caucasian, you know, there's like white, there's a brother from Nigeria, you know, so there's different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different cultures, but we always have the black driving force, you know, the main crux of it for that black experience to be recognized. So what I'm asking is, now that we have, you know, we have Wu-Tang TV shows, we have Dr. Dre headphones, we have
Rap Snacks,
we have Ice Cube, the director, we have so many different levels and fields now. And I consider most of that to still be hip hop, in different ways and different degrees. Also MCing is what I've done for the majority of my life, both for fun, professionally, managed to get and travel around the world and whatnot. You're an MC, but you were fading off. You're not doing it as seriously. Do you think this is the wave of real hip hop? Do you think this is where it's going? Do you think this is what we always wanted to do? You know, how do you see it? Because I personally see a lot of the things that are coming out as a wish fulfilled that was actually asked for sometime in the 80s. You know, like certain trainers that are coming out, certain training shoes, and they're coming out now because we didn't have the money then. We didn't have the connection with Adidas or Clarks or British Walkers or Puma or Nike or whatever, you know. So now we've got those connections. I feel that this is what we actually asked for in many ways, good and bad, but we're finally getting it. How do you see that? Do you think this is where hip hop's going? Do you think this is,
I think, yeah, with a lot of people, you know, obviously with a lot, I'm not saying like hit retirement or whatever, but a lot of people, you know, you live for, like, you know, like you're yourself through writing and what's not. I think the natural evolution of that would be writing a story or writing a story, you know, whether you're doing something, you're living vicariously through, you know, the characters is a non-fiction something, or something that's based in this our universe, our reality. So I think that's a natural evolution. Like when Kobe, like I said the last time I was on here, said that, you know, always used to tell me, you know, everybody's got at least one book in them.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's like, and then I mean, and that's whether you do hip hop, that's whether you do play tennis, that's whether you work out at the beach, or, you know, go for a jog in the morning. And, you know, I mean, if you're passionate enough about something and one of your means of expressing yourself is writing, or, you know what I mean, or creating, it's gonna come out in your work eventually. And you might have one day you might have what's it called? Sorry. One day you can get that, you have that moment where it's just like, yo, I'm gonna just write this experience down, or, you know, give like you know, it could, you know, write this experience down, or express it, you know, the story through this way. So I think it's a natural evolution for people to gravitate towards books. And speaking of books, I'm gonna get my hands on the Milford Graves. Milford Graves put a book out. Can't remember the title. That sounds bad. But Milford Graves just put a book out about gardening and, I guess, jazz. He was a jazz musician, a jazz drummer, and a martial artist. So he just put a book out about, like, you know, growing his own food and gardening and stuff like that. And I think it's with some of us are going to create try to create archive outside of what people are creating as an archive, saying that this is our thing. We all have our own personal experiences, you know, and I think that's a natural evolution. I think a lot more rappers should write books, you know. I think a lot more rappers. I think D did it, you know, Shiali's done it, you know. I think a lot more rappers should write autobiographical books about their journey and, you know, the moments in between them not making music, you know. And I think it should be like beyond like who's better, Biggie or Pop, or no that crap. I think it can we at a point where there's more to say now. You know, there's a lot more to say, and I want to hear your personal experiences. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's more.
You know,
pardon me, Rob.
Yeah, go on, Rob. Go on.
No, I just wanted to kind of touch on what Theodore was just saying. Now, to me, this is more, instead of being an evolution in the comic world, to me, this is more like return to the boom bap, because this takes it back to how hip hop started and how jazz started and stuff like that. Because this is really relying on almost minimum resources. You don't really, this is something you can do. All you need is a pen and a paper.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. And yeah, eventually you're going to need to be able to get it printed and stuff like that. But this is very relying on rudimentary, very simple tools. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not even an evolution. It's actually very, to me, this is the next, it's like, I guess, an evolution, but to me, this is it's like taking it back again. You know, you ain't even got to be no top. This is something, when I started doing this is something I wish everybody, I'm like, damn, this is something a lot of people need to do. Because it's just like how rap was to me at one point, where it's like, it's very stress relieving. It's very, I mean, you can get experimental. It's also very much like the DJing and stuff and the producing, because you deal with, you know, something I do and something a lot of comic artists do. You taking reference from here and there and putting it in there, sometimes even to the level of cutting and pasting, which is very much like, you know, chopping and DJing and stuff like that. It's got all those elements in there. Yeah. And even putting the panels together is very rhythmically, like as if you're writing a rhyme. All of that's in there. And this is a very crude art form, depending on how you do it. I mean, if you're trying to do it on the level of Marvel DC, it's not so crude. You got to rely on certain things. But as far as on this level, the way we're doing it, you don't really need, it's really nothing but honesty and heart and just what you call it, being inventive and stuff like that, and working with what you got. Yeah. And that's very hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's almost, you know what I mean, taking it back, to be honest, like taking it back to the basics.
I love that. I love that. And that's happened quite a lot, especially, I know you were doing it before, but especially during COVID and quarantine, and I mean, we're still during COVID, but people went back to age-old traditional crafts. They started doing needlepoint and knitting and sewing and using crayon and painting, and you know, they left their iPad for a moment, you know, their computer. They got into some like I say, some needlecraft and making clothes and bread and all these kind of things. And some of it was for show, some of it was for fashion, but a lot of it was real. A lot of it was very real and, like you say, very rudimentary and very, very hip hop in that essence of
improv. Yeah,
best out of what you have.
Yeah,
I'm just doing it to be TikTok famous, man. That's it.
Nah, true. You know, yo.
You know, we check it out, like, you know, TikTok. Not for real.
You gotta have it done.
Yo, I didn't know you had that comic. I know you were showing me this stuff earlier, your art and stuff, but I didn't know you actually had I didn't know you actually had an Afroflux comic. I didn't even know that. I don't think I knew that. Is that out for available now? It
will be at the FluxCon on the 18th June as with B-side, as Afroflux B-side. But it was available. It's available online, but this is the first time. It's actually about a year and a half old, but it's the first time physically being in my hand, you know, on paper.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's quite wild for me to see.
It's a good feeling, ain't it?
Yeah.
It feels
yeah.
It's real. Like,
good feeling, yeah.
Yeah.
So in order for you to get a copy of Aplus, you're going to have to, we'll talk about off screen, but yeah, what we're going to try and do is we're trying to get, we'll give you a couple. Obviously, we're going to probably get you some copies to you for the the Afro Flux Zine Fair. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Definitely.
love to have them here, man. I'll be proud to have them.
Wait, Afro Flux Zine Fair, is that a part of the B-Sides?
Yeah, Flux,
Part of that?
what we do, we've had in the past, this year will be the most illustrators and comic artists that we've had. But in the past, we've had book writers, craft makers, and it's a small sort of market, Comic Con, a small comic convention. We've done it on and off. This will be the 4th time we've done it properly. And then we have comic writers. This year we've got all people connected to comics, and we also have like martial artists, and we've got a capoeira workshop. We've got with Denise Pantera. We've got a cinematic motion martial art dance workshop for film and cinematography with Jake and Wogu. We've got a cosplay workshop. We've got with Sun Ray. We've got a zine making workshop, and we've got a workshop done by Florence Okoye called From Wakanda to Brum, talking about city planning, future planning, you know, how cities are made and how they should be made for the people and the people who live there. And you know how Birmingham's a classic example of a lot of decisions in city planning that aren't really made for the people, but they sound like they are. And so we're going to have a workshop based on that. How would we plan in a more communal kind of sense for the future? So all of that is part of the FluxCon. And then we've got speakers, illustrators, people like Sarah Kenny, who's an amazing writer. Do you know a comic called Surgeon X?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Image Comics, which was quite innovative because it was talking about the...
Did you say the name of it again? Surgeon X?
Surgeon X, just like...
You from London as well?
Say that again?
Is she from England? Sorry, I keep on saying London. Sorry, is she from England as well?
Yeah, you're definitely in the Americas. Yo, what's up, London, Scotland?
Yo, what up, London, Ireland? Yo, what up?
Ireland.
Look at my Irish people in London. You know what I mean? Nah, that's not that. Nah, like, that's the thing as well. Like, me and Rob are gonna start a black golf league for black people that play golf. No, we just bugging that. We ain't doing that.
There's no harm in
it. Like, they need to think of that. Like, we need a black golf league. You know what I mean? You know.
What did Matt?
I digress.
Years ago, he said, "Me on my days off, me and what did he say? Me and Michael Jordan play golf." You know, do you remember that line?
Yeah. You know, me and Russell, we do yoga. You know.
But yes,
then we're gonna start.
Thank you so much, guys. We're gonna stay on, but I'm gonna end up here. Where can we get the comic? When is it coming out? Where can we get the other comics? Is Build Destroy still available? Is 36 Lessons still available? Is Depressed Punk still available? Theodore and Lee, both of them, the battle. when are the next projects coming out? And when's the rap stuff coming out? Being as I don't really rap, but I'm real nice. Yes, Rob.
Well, to answer this, I want to say, first of all, 36 Lessons, you know, that's not available. That was made by Locust Moon. They don't really exist anymore. I don't even know how you would get that. But the collection, those books that's in that collection, Depressed Punks, I'm going to reprint those. I don't know when, but I'm going to print them soon. As far as Aplus Comix, as far as this is concerned, this will be available through, I don't know. You have to just hit me up on Instagram, you know, my Instagram, and just get it through there because I've been having some technical issues with my sites. Also, these are also going to be available through Autumn Press. Illinois. he's gonna print some. You know, we're working on that. So he's gonna print some. You know, that's gonna be more, I guess, the international release.
Yeah.
And but so yeah, we're gonna work on it. And that I can't tell you when that's gonna happen because we ain't really even. But that's gonna happen. And but as far as but a lot of stuff that I'm gonna release, you just would have to go to my Instagram, you know, A Plus Comics, and just, you know, when I post stuff, just look at it like that. And you know, yeah, just check my Instagram, you know, which is A Plus Comics, spelled out exactly how, you know, it's written here.
A Plus Comics.
Build Destroy is on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's on Amazon, so that's still, you can still get that. Yeah, Build Destroy is Amazon. Yeah, so I used to have all this stuff on one site, but I've been having some technical difficulty with the sites and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Build Destroy is a graphic novel that's available on Amazon. I guess you just go on Google, Build Destroy Rob Woods. A Plus Comics, just on my Instagram, I'm gonna post it.
Yes.
You know, so it's going to be available through A Plus Comics on Instagram and also through Atom Plus. I mean, I say Atom Publishing. Sorry, Atom Publishing. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, man. That's bliss, man. That's peace.
And basically, you all almost saw me fall over the side there. I was just looking to see if there's a car coming. Anyway, Pete, A Plus Comics, go to his Instagram, Rob Woods, and deal directly with the brother. It's a good cause. My imprint coming out in association with Rob's A Plus Comics is Art Brute Comics. I'm trying to do, like, I'm kind of more or less like I said, giving excerpts of The Toys Are Dead to Rob, and it's being published in A Plus Comics. So eventually, with my imprint, I'm going to have a collection of these stories put together as a one, and it'll be done in volumes. Hopefully, I can get other artists as well that similar type work. I know Rob will be featured in it. I'm trying to start imprint myself, but that's later down the line. But yeah, Toys Are Dead. It's in A Plus Comics, and also I've got work. I've been doing vinyl covers for a record label called Back At Ya. They do this. They specialize in rare groove repressings and funk and reggae and stuff like that from the 70s, 80s, mid 80s, early 80s, right through. I've been doing sleeves for them and a couple label stickers for the people who collect vinyl. So if you want to see some more of my work, I'm also there. I'm also up in that mix as well. So I'm never too far away from music. It's just that I'm not really creating that much anymore. And like I said, that's it. That's where you can source my material, and I would suggest go through Rob first, check out the A Plus imprint, check out the old SGBI, get online, holla at Rob. He's approachable despite his appearance. I know, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Yeah. He's approachable despite he's like all moody and shit, you know what I mean? Nah, I was joking. No, just get Rob, holla at him. He's got, like, you know what I mean? He's got A Plus Comics going on, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. It looks great. I love the fact that you guys sent it to me a while back, and I had a chance to look through the whole thing and read it and just take it on board. Some of it's real wild as well. some of it out there, and I love that though. I love that, you know, it's real big that you do.
And with the beekeeper getup, I've been wearing this because I'll be real with you. There's a lot of people after me, and you know what I mean, up until you know what I mean, pay back the mob. You know, I gotta keep my identity secret for now.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in comic illustration, I've heard.
Oh yeah. Being a nobody is that's worse.
Might get yourself that Frank Miller house, you know.
Yeah, I'm aiming for that. Yeah, I'm aiming for the Frank Miller, the house and the car.
Yeah, man.
We'll get it at some point. but yeah, like I said, like Rob has been doing some working very hard. He works very hard. It might just look like we're just here chilling, doing like, you know, drawings, but he's one of the hardest working guys I know. And when I said boy, his appearance, I meant, you know, this dude's like moody. Nah, I'm just kidding. He's not. He's really approachable. You know, ask him what he's doing. See how you can get yourself involved. And that's either via, like, you know, going out getting yourself a comic, you know, or just putting people on, and just, you know, spreading the word, you know.
Yeah, man.
On that note, I'd like to say salute to Mr. Jusalim. Thank you for having us on your platform.
Thank you for being here.
You know,
thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Rob, what time is it there where you're at?
3:38, 3:30
PM.
PM, yeah, afternoon, yeah.
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 Theodore, what time is it there?
Oh, right now it's the same. We have the same time zone.
Yeah.
Me and Rob have the same time zone.
All right. Well, here it's
8:30.
8:39 right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do this, but you know, time is will be less relevant once this is shown again, because we work on the other side of time, and we're going to continue working on the other side of time. And I will see you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me on here, man. It's really always good talking to you, man.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Always a pleasure, man.
Peace, brother.